Alright everybody, welcome back to another Xvault gaming video. Xvault here, and today what I have to go over is, yes, the Phil Spencer interview regarding his interview with Kind of Funny just a few days ago. I want to go over this in a little more detail. I wanted to have this sit here and kind of marinate, not just with me, but with the community as well, and kind of get a consensus of what's going on and not make any rash videos right afterwards and just kind of take a real approach at it. So I'm here to do that. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump to it. All right, so like I was saying, what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of dissect this interview that Phil Spencer had with Kind of Funny here recently. And like I said, I had time to have this marinate. I had time to kind of look at what the online community has been stating in regards to it, their reactions, and so on and so forth. So this isn't a typical reaction of the reaction of what happened. This is, let's let it sit there, marinate, and see what kind of happened, right? And kind of break this down and what it really truly means after really letting yourself look into this at a deeper level, perhaps. So what I want to do and start off here, though, is start off by stating some of the quotes that he was making during this interview, and then let's go ahead and dissect that a little bit, right? So let's start off here. He quotes on in no particular order, perhaps, here, but I'm just going to kind of quote some of these. But Phil Spencer, all these are quotes directly from this interview, stating, "We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us." So that just alone is so much to break down, and that's why they have Game Pass, right? Let's take that apart. This is why they have Game Pass, is something that they're differently doing, right? They understand it. The Xbox umbrella understands it, is what I'm trying to state, as well as Phil Spencer understands that it's very difficult to catch up and pass or be on the same playing field as Nintendo or Sony. It can be done, but he's thinking it cannot be done. So they're going another direction. They think a better direction, an easier direction, a direction that Nintendo and Sony weren't spearheading right away, or at least as hard. So let's go over some more here and we'll circle back to that. But he goes on to state, "And I know that will upset a ton of people, but the truth of the matter is, when you're third place," which he admits here, "in the console marketplace, and the top two players are as strong as they are and have, in certain cases, a very discreet focus on doing deals and other things that kind of make being Xbox hard for us as a team. That's on us, not anybody else." So, for those of you maybe not in the know, this means that Nintendo and Sony make exclusive timed deals. So, or they just end up buying IPs or whatever. That's not new to the business. And like he said, that's on Xbox for not making those moves as well, or first, or as frequent, or whatever have you. And what we'll take, Bayonetta for Nintendo, as well as some other properties. Sony, of course, with a lot of Final Fantasy properties, with the remake and the Pixel remaster and so on and so forth, making it console related. I don't know why those aren't on Xbox, especially Final Fantasy VII Remake. There's a lot behind the scenes there, but there's other IPs aside from the JRPG aspect as well, and we'll be hitting up another video here with some more news that dropped today. But he's fully aware that you do have to make those deals. They just haven't done it. That's on them. So let's move on. "I see it out there," he quotes saying. "I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around," he said. "It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console shares shift in some dramatic way. We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation, where everybody built their digital library of games. This idea that if we just focused more on great games on our console, that somehow we're going to win the console race, I think doesn't relate to the reality of most people." So that's a lot to break down again, right? If you haven't heard, a lot of people are upset about this because they totally disagree. He's saying if you create this amazing game or amazing games, that's not going to change the trajectory of the Xbox franchise and sales and so forth. Right away, that may be kind of true. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the time. It should have been done so long ago. Yeah, if you're starting to do that now, it's not going to turn the ship around. It's not going to turn the tides. It's not going to happen overnight. These sort of things take time. You have to make additional deals. You have to make additional content, and it has to be good. It has to be good. And yeah, I totally disagree with that as well, because with other people out there stating that what he said is incorrect. Yes, if you create those great games, that's how you get somewhere. You have notoriety. You have something to bargain with by stating, come to our ecosystem where you can only play this amazing game. If you're releasing banger after banger after banger of a game over and over, eventually you're going to catch the eyes of those that play exclusively on Nintendo or exclusively on, PlayStation. You're going to catch the eyes. And that's what I've always said. If the shoe is on the other foot and PlayStation is in Microsoft space without the games and the content that they have been giving us, I would be going to Xbox. I don't sit there and I'm not owned by any corporation or, business. And that's what they are as businesses, and they want to keep the consumers happy enough so they stay there, but they're not your friends. I don't care who they are, they're not your friends, but PlayStation, for the most part, 90% of the time, do not miss in the content that they bring and deliver and the games. They just don't. They've had their mishaps. They've had the PS3 overpriced console, which they overshot it, cell processor, all that stuff. They had the great hack that put the system down for well over 30 days. That sucked. People's information was leaked, not mine or anybody I knew personally, but I'm not discrediting anybody out there that was truly affected by that. But it did happen, right? And, no business is going to get it right 100% of the time, and everybody understands that, whether it's Microsoft, Nintendo, or Sony, or whoever else. They're not going to hit it out of the park every time, and you're going to have missteps, you're going to have mistakes. That's just what I have to say about that. But let's continue on real quick. This is the first generation where the big games they're playing were games that were available last gen. When you think about Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft, the continuity from generation to generation is so strong. I see a lot of pundits and out there want to go back to time where we all had cartridges and discs and every new generation was a clean slate and you could switch the whole console share. That's just not the world that we're in today. There is no world where Starfield is an 11 out of 10 and people are selling their PS5s. That's not going to happen. And that adds to what I just spoke about, right? Starfield could be an 11 out of 10. It's not going to make anybody sell their PS5s, perhaps, Phil, or anybody else out there listening. But it is also going to give them an incentive to also buy an Xbox console or buy a PC and subscribe to Game Pass, or buy that Xbox console and subscribe to Game Pass, because it is a good value. It is a great value. But you have to consistently do that. So the goal is not for people to sell their PS5s and that are already heavily invested in an ecosystem. You have to produce enough content to make somebody look and go, wow, I'm not going to miss that game. Again, shoe on the other foot. Let's just take everything they have. Let's just separate Spider-Man from Insomniac, right? Let's say they get somebody else that created Spider-Man. Not Insomniac, but one of their own studios, and they still pretty much hit the nail on the head like Insomniac did, just for an alternate universe. It happens that way. Guess what? I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. That IP is huge. Spider-Man's one of the best-selling Marvel characters and superheroes in terms of merchandising and hype and this and that. You bring that over there, I see how great that is. This guy, this person, is going to go ahead and either subscribe to Game Pass or buy a console or have a PC and subscribe to Game Pass or buy it or whatever. I'm going to do that. That's what you have to understand. You create that must-have game out there, people are going to flock to it one way or the other, or add it into the ecosystem that they already have or whatever. That's So that is such a crazy statement to me, but let's continue here. He even goes further. I'll even go back to the Redfall videos in IGN of showing videos of the game running at 60 FPS on PC, at the point knowing that the game was going to be around 30 frames per second at launch on console. Like, we have to be transparent about what we're showing, and what we're showing is representative of what our console consumer, our console customer, our most committed customer to our brand, financially committed, what they're going to see, what they're going to play, and our transparency just has to be better. And I'm not pointing at anybody but myself. At some point, I'll have to have enough knocks against me that it's somebody else here, but I think it's transparency in what we're building, what our aspiration is for the game, and what it's going to look like, what the features are, and it drives me crazy when we have self-inflicted wounds of putting things out there in communications that's confusing or misleading about what the actual end product is going to be. And then he eventually goes on to also state, I think we need to improve on engaging in games that are midway through production when they become part of Xbox, he said. I don't think there's a different expectation for a game and even a team when you've been third party and all of a sudden you become part of first party. So that's the gist of pretty much everything that he did state. And he did more. He came out and mentioned, which I thought was really stupid, that the XCast on there from Kinda Funny was like, they took away we want to start off, this is going to be hard, but they took away our ABK acquisition. It's not you're not part of that, and nobody took it away. It just never happened due to reasons. Reasons that aren't necessarily wrong, and Phil disagreed there and thought that, cloud gaming isn't where it should be, and so on and so forth. Again, I addressed this in multiple other videos. They had a reason to do it. There's no conspiracy. There's no anything else. It just is what it is. You got to deal with it. People think the appeal is going to do something different. At this point, I still have to throw my hands up because I don't know. Odds are at this point, that's very difficult to overturn. So we'll see what happens. I don't think so. But again, I don't know 100%. So that's just my opinion there. But one of the other things I have to state here is at least he was very candid, but it's still the same PR stuff, right? And he goes on and saying it, and I know he's aware. You could see he's extremely frustrated, so I don't know if this is just him trying to appear weaker to help the acquisition, is what I kind of wanted to make the point of. That could be a possibility. I don't know if that'll help at all, but it is the possibility. But the fact that he just doesn't think making great games is going to change anything, well, of course it changes everything. I mean, people go back to Forza every time there's a new Forza iteration and new installment because they love Forza so much, because it is a very high quality racing game. It's an arcade racer. It's a great game. People love it. So they play it. Psychonauts 2 is as well as it did review, and as well as the cult following did enjoy that game, it's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's certainly not mine. It's not going to turn my head to be like, wow, I'm such a big fan of Psychonauts 1 that I need to get Psychonauts 2. I wasn't in that audience, and I don't know if I speak for everybody on that, but I don't know exactly how well Psychonauts 2 sold. I think it did okay. I'm just trying to throw out some other stuff. I mean, Hi-Fi Rush did a really good job. Obviously, that they did a great job. They shadow dropped it. That was a great move, but again, it's not enough to make people turn their heads and go, wow, Hi-Fi Rush, what's this cel-shaded type of game like? Is it really that great? Is that enough to bring people over? No, you need that must-have. That must-have is stuff they're trying to head in the right direction. Starfield is a big step, so that's why it has to be so good. There is a lot riding on Starfield. It has to be good. If it's amazing, if it's 11 or 12 out of 10 and it's just hitting above that bar and they knock it out of the park, that's going to start that conversation for those that don't have an Xbox or are not subscribed to Game Pass to have the option to look into there. After that, what's your next slate looking like? What's the next game up? Is Hellblade 2 going to knock it out of the park? I don't think that's a head-turner game. You're looking at the heavy hitters from Bethesda, the next Elder Scrolls. Hopefully Avowed does something amazing. Hopefully Fable ends up doing something amazing. If those games end up doing something that sets the bar so high, people are starting to turn their heads, and that's when you're going to start to see some change. But if Phil doesn't truly believe that, if marketing doesn't truly believe that, if the Xbox umbrella and the Microsoft Corporation doesn't believe in that, that's a problem. And to me, at this point in time, they don't have enough confidence in their own teams, their own management skills to follow through on this. Hence the absolute bomb that Redfall dropped in quality and fun and everything else, how garbage that is. That's a big deal. That's coming from Arcane Studio. It's supposed to not really miss. I mean, you look at it, right? And it's just absolutely insane to me. So that's why I feel if they continue to miss that mark, without a shadow of a doubt, whether those out there agree with me or not, Microsoft will end up being third party. They're not going to go away. They're way too invested in the game industry at this point. But they will end up being a possibility for going third party and having a Game Pass app that is available on just almost any device, your new smart toaster at this point, or on any console that will allow Game Pass to be on there for a certain piece of percentage in market share. But it's going to happen sooner than later if they don't turn their crap around. And this interview did not instill my confidence in them, and I know it did not instill the confidence of the Xbox fans out there. And they're trying to speak for Phil and trying to interpret what Phil said. There's nothing to interpret. I read to you all the quotes. He stated that. There's no in between the lines of what this is what he meant. You don't know. You're not a psychic. You don't know what's on his head. In his head, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know anything. So don't speak for Phil. Don't speak for Xbox in general. He's the big boy. He came out and did the interview. He said what he said, and he meant what he said. You have to handle that. You have to understand the truth. I'm sorry, but you do. I thought it was crazy, but I wanted to give it a few days, like I said, to marinate. I know this video is already running a bit long, so I appreciate everybody hanging in there. And bearing with me, but there was a lot to say, really a lot to dissect. I could have went over this in double the time, but I will wrap it up for now because I did say what I have to say and state the facts there, so I appreciate that. If you did make it to the end of the video, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody's support. At this time of recording, we are so close to the 500 subscriber goal, 471 subscribers. So if you made it this far, like I said, leave a like, comment down below because I would love to hear what you think and want to say. And if you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing and helping out a content creator as small as myself, and hopefully we can continue to do more and more. So, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and we will see you next time on the next Xvault Gaming video. And until then, take care.